Athlete Builder back at it. Have a doctor in the house today, Dr. Pam Arnell. As always, we're powered by the AEA Institute, where mental performance is what we do. We want to check out the Mental Edge Academy. Today, we have someone in that vein. She's the executive director for 220. So, shout out Bill Brown, our Navy SEAL that was on our show twice already. He heads up the New York City SEAL Swimming. I'm sure if you've been listening, you've heard me talk about that. And he mentioned that when any of the vets, first responders, any families of vets that are having challenges, he said, you know what? If you come across anybody, Jim, that has those challenges, get a hold of Dr. Pam. So, talk to her, learn more about her entity, started to partner a little bit more with what we're doing with the AEA Institute. We want to support them. So, Pam, just first off, thanks for being on the show.
Thank
And
you for having me.
the 22-0, and some people really kind of challenge this sometimes. I know that refers to the fact that on average daily, 22 veterans commit suicide. And we're trying to get that down to zero, hence the 22-0 name for the company. And people are
Yes.
like, is that really 22? Is that really the right number? Like, there's that many? And I'm
So
like, yeah.
it
So go ahead.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so that was 8 years ago. April 22-0 will have been operating 8 years. And 8 years ago, the data showed 22, on average, 22 a day die by suicide. Well, those numbers continue to be in that range. And actually, I just saw a article that was released showing that the numbers have increased. Realistically, that it's going to be now more along the line of 44 a day. Um,
Two times
so
the number.
two times. Well, and here's what people don't realize. So the data reflects male veterans. It doesn't include the female veterans. If a veteran dies by, let's say a veteran leaves a suicide note and they overdose, even though there's a suicide note, that does not get counted. If a veteran leaves a suicide note and dies in an MVA, that does not get included in that data. So the numbers are just not accurate. We know that there's more than that today that are still dying by suicide, when in the United States and at 2026, there should be no suicides at this point with our armed forces if the VA was doing what they were supposed to do. Um,
Gotcha.
the other part of that is, the VA is not open to holistic approaches. And the majority of those that die by suicide that are veterans are not even going to the VA to begin with. So, it's sad, but it's sad when
There's reality, huh?
it
Well,
is.
people
Yeah.
people are asking, well, why are we having this discussion about today? Because it sounds kind of a big downer, right? But we'll also the point is that everyone has pain and suffering, and it's kind of how you choose to look at it. And I'm not saying the people that are in trauma sh- are are not suffering. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying that the brain is trainable. We can make certain choices and improve ourselves. We aren't stuck in victims for forever. And so Pam's doing great work there. And in the athlete builder world, mindset is the main thing that we talk about because it leads your willingness to learn things, be a better teammate than your training, nutrition, and recovery. So, Pam, right off the bat, just before we get into the seriousness of it, and we're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to talk about your background. We're going to talk about your husband, and then talk about what you're doing and finish up with some things. But part of your background, usually we always have athletes on the show, or doctors, or trainers, or special forces. And I saw that you competed in the band playing a flute, so flautist, right? This one
Yes.
time at band camp kind of deal. Um, and I saw that it was a national competition where it all occurred in your home state, and then
Yes.
things went a little awry. So I did some research, and I want to hear your version of it before I make up my own version on what happened there.
Okay. So yes, I was in the band, Columbia Central High School, in Columbia, Tennessee. And we were going to win the Grand National Championship. We didn't know anything we were teenagers, but we were going to win. And so there were very few of us that had a vehicle. I had a vehicle, and I called it the banana. My daddy made me have one of those. I couldn't even tell you what kind of vehicle it was, but it looked like a banana shape to me. Um, but being that was the case, then they said, "Hey, Pam, let's go to the liquor store and get some alcohol because we're going to win."
Here we go.
Well, we said, "Sure." So what does Pam do? We pile in my car. We go to the known liquor store. We get there, and the premises was if we win, which we knew we were going to win, then we would celebrate on the way back. Well, guess what? We won. We actually won. And so we started celebrating. When we got back to the school and we were in the band room, by then our band instructors had already heard about it. Um, they said, "Hey, no, nobody's leaving." Now, mind you, we get back about 1:30 in the morning. So I'm thinking, okay, just pop in my car and no, nobody's leaving. Everybody grab a seat. So we grab a seat. And then they said, everybody is going to have to be honest about who drank. And I'm going, well, how many do you think? I couldn't put 16 in my car. There ended up being 16. So they started calling us the Sweet 16.
Mm,
So I kept saying, no, it's really not that bad. I was trying to minimize it because you got to realize my dad was in the law enforcement field. My dad knew when I got a ticket before I ever got home. And we didn't have cell phones back then. So I was really dreading going home, but um, went, we stayed. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning that we were able to leave and got home. And my dad was up and he said, "Sis, what is going on?" And I said, "Dad, I think you better sit down." I said, "I'm going to be suspended." He said, "What did you do?" And I said, "Well, we were drinking on the band trip." I said, "But we won."
right?
um, my punishment. So my dad was, he and my stepmom did square dancing and clogging, and so they actually had a group where that's where they taught like a lot of individuals to do that. At 16, someone in their 40s and 50s just looked really old to me. But my punishment was I did get suspended. All of us got suspended for 3 days. My punishment was that I had to start a class with square dancing and clogging. And it was funny, or it's funny now, wasn't then, because it was on Friday night is when that was. And I'm going, "Dad, six, come on, just beat me." Something like, "Don't make me be in there with all
Right.
you old folks." And he said, "No, sis, that's what you're going to do." But I ended up doing it and I loved it. We ended up going and doing competitions and stuff like that. No, I didn't drink. My dad was there. But we did go to competitions, do square dancing and clogging. It was pretty fun.
Gotcha. So you were junior, so what, 16, 17 years old?
I was 16.
Sweet 16, and then drinking beer?
Yeah, yeah.
No,
The
all right.
and the thing about it was, so there was a liquor store that we all knew we could go to, and it ended up being a really big thing. So there were like I remember all kinds of news channels being there. We ended up having to go back to that liquor store with law enforcement and purchase that liquor because they kept saying you didn't buy that at a store. They thought we got it from our parents, and no, I'll show you the liquor store I drove to. It's well known in this county, basically where you could go. And that store ended up getting in trouble. That man ended up getting in trouble for selling to minors. But
Not good.
yeah, it was not good. No, but we were going to have fun. It was not the kind of fun I anticipated. I can tell you that.
I believe it. And then I was looking at your bio, and it said you're always looking to serve, whether it was in the military or you said you mentioned being a police officer, but like rides at in an amusement park at the time, there was a height requirement, and so you couldn't ride the ride or you couldn't actually be a police officer, so you went the firefighter route, correct?
So the firefighter route started in 2008. Yes, there was a height requirement that was lifted eventually in the mid 80s, whatever. So I ended up going to college to go into social work, into the counseling field.
Hmm.
And I had actually applied for to get into the academy. At that time, you didn't have to be hired by a department. But they said that my little 5'1.5" self wasn't tall enough, and I said, "Do you not realize I can get in places none of you can?" None of that helped. So when I knew that I was not going to be able to do that, I went on and knew that I was going to help people. Wasn't really sure what path God was going to have me on, but I knew from a very young age that I would be serving and helping individuals.
Gotcha.
So I ended up doing that. We had in 2008, there was a really big tornado that came through in Giles County, and um, I went to McDonald's, picked up a whole bunch of sausage and biscuits to take to everybody that was working out there. Um, get there, and then the next thing I know, Bruce says, "Hey, come on, you can go ride with me." Well, we're going and riding and looking at all the devastation. He said, "Hey, you want to be in the rescue squad?" So, well, I really hadn't thought about it. I was just bringing all of you food. He's like, "No, you would be good." And so I ended up doing it. I joined in 2008. It's volunteer fire rescue in Giles County. I'm an auxiliary member now. I don't think they would even let me leave if I said I could step away as auxiliary. I don't think they would let me leave. I'm known as Big Mama in the first responder role. But I also did get to be a reserve deputy. So when the sheriff's department started the reserve deputy program, I applied, and I was a reserve deputy for 5 years before I became known as the kid police. In Tennessee, you can't be the kid police, which is the youth service officer, and with the courts, and be in law enforcement. That's when I said, well, I'm going to have to really decide, because I really enjoy being a reserve deputy. We had all the same training, everything that law enforcement does, the beginning, the intro, the annual, and I loved it. And so I knew that God wanted me to serve and protect the kids, and that's what I did.
So now, fast forward, you're still in that serving and protecting. You're protecting people from themselves. You're protecting families. Just for definition's sake, Gold Star family, what does that mean for our audience?
Gold Star family is going to be a family member who has lost someone in combat. We have Gold Star, but we also serve Green Star. Green
That was my next
Star,
question.
yeah, Green Star is going to be someone in the military who came back and died by suicide. That would be in the Green Star family. We serve those Gold and Green Star families.
Now, unfortunately, you mentioned that your husband had already passed a few years back, and he was in the military, but developed cancer from his deployments, right? And further asking you to follow your calling of helping and protecting those that protect us, working with him as he was furthering along, and so now you're running 22-0. Help me help me understand or walk me through how when you get in contact with someone who's struggling, how you can essentially right the ship in so few of visits, because I'm sure they've been battling demons for a while, whether it's with another therapist, whether it's with recreational or prescribed drugs, whether it's something else that's unhealthy, maybe it's overly working out, but it could be all sorts of ways of them trying to battle these demons. And you're able to break through quickly. So for someone who wants to work on their mindset and they've been in pain like that or in trauma, walk me through how you're able to do that.
So the trauma healing process and the emotional healing process are based off of the neurological linguistic programming, also based off of the reconciliation of traumatic memories and visualization, kinesthetic. You're disconnecting those events. When someone experiences an event that's traumatic, those events are not processed in the brain, so it gets stuck in the amygdala, which is your fight, flight, or freeze. With using the trauma healing and the emotional healing, it's guided imagery. A lot of people has heard of EMDR, and I use that in the framework of EMDR does fall under the neurological linguistic programming, but you have to tell that story over and over and over and over. In addition to, it can take up to 18 months. With the processes that we used, it's peer-led, it's non-invasive, it's non-clinical, not talking about any of the content, but it still falls under the neurological linguistic programming. So we're going to get you in a safe place before, safe place after the events, and then we're going to go after those negative emotions, such as fear, terror, helplessness, guilt, survivor guilt, that are tied around that traumatic events. So the average is 2 to 4 sessions. We get whatever that big event is, and I kind of explain it in the framework of an onion. So whatever has them in that trigger, that's that first layer of that onion. That's why they are reaching out to us. But in addition, we're going to go and clear any other traumatic events, and that means going all the way back to childhood and getting any of the adverse childhood experiences that they may have. So by the time they're done with us, be it 3 sessions, 4 sessions, we've cleared all of the trauma and then the negative emotions tied around those traumas.
When I would think like not anywhere near severe, an athletic analogy where you're trying to kick the winning field goal and you miss, and then you feel guilty and upset, right? When you talk about missing the field goal, or you talk about the trauma where your buddy died and you lived, just talking about it probably makes them relive it. Like we talk about visualization with our athletes, they're then visualizing, like your clients are then visualizing the trauma. Doesn't that make it a little more painful again or worse?
So for me, even when I was working on in my graduate studies, that was about the time EMDR came out, and I would not get trained in it because I said, we have taken an oath, or will be taking an oath to do no harm or do no further harm. And when you're having to tell that story over and over and over and over, to me, that is causing harm. There's already problems. But with what we do, no, you don't talk about the content. You're not allowed to talk about the content, and that protects you, but that protects my peer coaches so they don't get vicarious trauma. If you look at it, all of those that are in the mental health professionals world, be it social workers or counselors, they're hearing that content. So they're getting that vicarious trauma from
Sure.
hearing those events. We've trained a lot of mental health professionals, and anytime there's traumatic content, then they're able to run the process on them so they don't have to hear that traumatic event or the detailed content of it as well. But
Gotcha.
yes, it's, to me, having to talk about it is you're reliving it, and you know, the more you relive it, the more traumatizing you're going to be.
Yeah. So when people talk about, hey man, just talk positively or think positive, be positive, you're reframing your brain and focusing on things that aren't painful so you can, Tony Robbins will say where your focus goes, your energy flows. So if your focus is going to something really horrible, your energy is going to flow there. So you're training people to simply focus on the positive outcome. Now there's two stories I have along those lines,
Yes.
how it relates to, patients or people or athletes. One, Bill Buckner, 86, New York Mets versus Red Sox. He played first base, game seven, uh, late in the series. Red Sox are winning. Ground ball hit to him at first base, goes through his legs, cost him runs, cost him the game. They end up losing the World Series, right? So before the playoffs started, Buckner was being interviewed by ESPN and sports television, and it was asked, "Hey man, what do you think about your chances in the playoffs?" And it's like, "Well, it's pretty good. And there's the curse of the Bambino, but hopefully we're going to break that this year." And he said, "Obviously, the dream is to win the World Series, but the nightmare is late in the series, a ground ball gets hit to you, goes through your legs, and costs yourself the series." So he says this out loud on TV. And then in game six of the World Series, the exact same scenario unfolded and occurred, and bam, it happened. So when you're focusing on certain things,
Mhm.
you're training your brain to be in pain, right?
Yep.
Or in pleasure or something positive, right? Where you can attack and perform well. I don't know if you remember because I'm 51, so I'm a bit older, right? If you remember
No.
the flying Walendas,
I'm older than you. Go ahead.
The Flying Wallendas. Wallendas is the last name of a famous circus family. And what they were famous for doing is doing high level acrobatics on the high wire, sitting on chairs, multiple people on top of chairs, all on the high wire. And what made them famous, and why people come from far and wide to see this act, is that this was the family that would do the event without a net, no net,
No net. Oh,
no
wow.
net. Parents, the kids,
Wow.
the whole family was always doing the flying Wallendas, right? Trapeze, no net. And they would never talk about the net. They're always talking about, I want to have my foot here. They're always talking about actionable things that they can do. My hand goes here. I'm going to hold you like this. They're always talking about positive things to do, not like don't look down, don't fall, don't, nothing with a no or a never or a can't or a negative word in the verb or the phrase. Just they're always focusing on what they need to do. And they would go for years, no problems. And then one year, they had a number of interviews in a row of talking about, man, aren't you worried about someone dying? Aren't you worried about there not being a net? Aren't you worried? Aren't you worried? Over and over again. They kept asking the guy over and over, and the head of the family, the patriarch, and they kept talking about it and hammering him show after show after show. And then so he started talking deeper and deeper and deeper about it, right? So they would practice a little bit with a net because they're worried about it and they're worried about it. So now their focus is going to what could happen negatively. And sure enough, the next time they went and performed without the net, they had an accident, right? And it didn't turn out well. The whole point is that whether it's your clients or Bill Buckner or trapeze artists or Hamlin, where your focus goes, your energy flows, and we can make some choices. So
Yes.
Pam, walk us through like how you're gonna, someone comes in with some trauma, you're not even gonna bring that up, but how you will steer the conversation and train them. Here are some tactics you can do at home for yourself so you can be in a better spot and focus on things that helps you to handle life going forward.
So it's that reframing piece, because everything you just talked about, it's reframing. So if you're, let's say, I'm just going to make up an example. Say I'm out driving and a deer hits my vehicle. I can be consumed by the fact that that deer has hit my vehicle, or I can say, well, the good thing is I didn't lose control of my vehicle. I can replace my vehicle, or my vehicle can be repaired. No one else was involved in that accident, so no one died. Again, it's that reframing, just like with the emotional, the emotional health process that we use when we're talking about like anger, guilt, whatever that negative emotion is. We're going to go back to the root of that negative emotion. It may have happened originally the first time, say you were 5 or 6 years old. Okay, well, we're going to go back and we're going to figure out what these learnings are. So you didn't know it then, but you know it now that there are learnings. Well, that younger you needs to know what those learnings are so they can release those emotions that are negative. Framing how we talk, reframing, the way we think and react. If I said, Jim, for 1 week starting today, a week from now, I want you to text me and tell me how many yellow school buses you saw every day. I expect to have a text message that says, I don't care where I am, Pam, I cannot quit seeing these yellow school buses.
Yeah, right.
So it's the reticular activating system, the RAS,
Yes,
it's
yes,
neurological. So we're really working. Trauma is not a disorder, and the emotional healing from those negative emotions is not a disorder. It's neurologically based. And
right.
once you can get control of that and understand that, then the healing is there.
We talk about that all the time at the AEA Institute, the reticular activating system, and that's like your mind's eye. The day I picked up my Jeep and drove home,
Uh-huh.
I swear to God, I was surrounded by Jeeps. Right? Because now I'm driving my new Jeep. I've been wanting a Jeep. I'm all excited. It's stick shift. I'm driving home. I'm like, Jen, you will not believe how many Jeeps there were today.
Yeah.
Right? You will not believe it. Like they're everywhere. I can't believe I didn't know that this many people had Jeeps. And
Yeah.
because now you're just all about it. And I remember when I was a kid, my dad would say, "Hey man, only girls drive red cars." chicks love red cars. Dudes don't drive red cars, right? So by God, every time we were in a car, I was pointing out a guy that was driving a red car. Cause hey, there's another guy, Dad, right there. Because you're a little kid, you want to prove your father wrong all the time. I get that. So they put that in. They put that in your head. Or the point is, you can put things in your head too, and should, so that you can optimize your day. Get up and you start saying, I'm gonna look for yes answers out of people today. I'm gonna look for gratitude and everything. So when Jocko's response is good, when bad things happen, if you watch or follow Jocko Willink and his podcast, something bad happens, he wants the response to be good. Good. That way you can reframe immediately, look for some positives. That way you're not upset. Because I know when a lot of people, be included, when I'm upset, I'm making worse choices. And if we get people or athletes to look at the situation, you missed the swing at that pitch, think, good, man, now I got data. This is how his delivery is. Or you missed that field goal. All right, I know what to do next time in this
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
Right. So if you just look at the experience as data, and your brain is this AI module that's going to constantly evolve to the data, being aware because your brain's going to do it anyways, whether you choose to or not. But now you can take a little bit more control and put yourself in a better frame of mind moving forward.
Absolutely.
Mm,
That another example of that. So let's say uh, not everybody likes everybody. Prime example. Let's say someone is spreading rumors about you and giving false information, which happens, and knowing good and well that that information that they're saying about that individual is not true. You know, so one or two things can happen. I can let that consume me and affect or impact my day, or I can rely back on my faith, which is what I always do, and say, if they're talking about me, they're leaving somebody else alone.
mm,
And if they're trying to, diminish anything that I'm doing or make false statements about me, then they're leaving somebody else alone. So that's okay because my God can handle it. I don't know who or what kind of God they're serving, but my God can handle that.
yeah,
So I can
yeah.
do one of those two things. For me, it's easy. I'm going to rely on my faith. And also knowing that if they're talking about me, they're leaving somebody else alone.
Here's the here's the challenge or the task I would pose to people that sit in a quiet spot and write down a few things that kind of set you off, like or how you react normally, kind of categorize or tabulate how you react when things don't go well, right? Or if someone's cutting you off if you're driving, but in sports, when you have a bad play, or if you're someone in trauma, right? Write down this is what happens, and then we talk about whether it's your nutrition, just pre-decide, pre-decide. All right, next time this happens, I'm gonna try to move the needle a little bit. I'm gonna say this phrase. I like the word good. It's hard for me to use, but I like it. I like the word good. I'm gonna say one thing positive to kind of reframe it. That way I can at least think a little clearly and make a good decision. If you pre-decide, write that down, what you're gonna do, what your process is gonna be. Next time it happens, just test your theory. See how it goes. Get some new data. Well, I tried this. It worked okay. I'm gonna try it again. So when you get more data, then you can make another adjustment whether you wanna or make another decision whether you want to adjust again or not. But it's sitting quietly for a minute, writing down the problems that set you off, and then pre-decide how you're going to handle it, and then see how it goes. Don't just walk around thinking, well, I'm just out of control all the time, because then you will be.
You will be.
You will
And
be.
then you're not going to perform as well.
No, no. Whether it's at home, at work, or on the field, or with anyone else.
Right.
Gotcha. The what's on the horizon going forward with any of your endeavors at 22-0? I remember you talking about music.
Yes. So, uh, one of the things that I started after becoming the executive director was the ambassador program.
Hmm.
We have some veterans that are now independent music industry, uh, singing and all that good stuff. Well, I had met Ty Warner. Ty Warner is an Air Force veteran and now in the music industry. And we met through a mutual connection through another podcast. A friend of mine, David, has a podcast in Nashville. And basically, you know, when I'm able to watch the live interviews, I happened to be doing it that day. He was interviewing Ty, and I heard Ty talk about being a veteran. So I'm grabbing my phone and I'm texting David, and I said, "Tell that man," I said, "thank you for his service." And and which David did. And, he knows my heart about our armed forces and first responders. And then Ty and I connected. Well, Ty asked me, we had several meetings, and he said, "Hey, Pam, what do you think about letting your mission clients tell their stories and turn it into a song?" I laughed. I know my limitations. Okay. And I said, "Dude," I said, "Todd, that's hilarious. Dude, I can't sing. That doesn't mean I don't, but I can't sing. That's not my realm." But that was in 2024. And so we had several meetings about it. I prayed about it, and Ty took all, he said he would handle that piece. So that's how 220 Heroes and Stories came about. If a mission clients want to tell their stories and turn it into a song, I connect them with Ty, and we have several ambassadors that are in the music industry, and all of them are part of it, and helping that veteran or first responder get that story and just make it into a song. And we're actually now looking at, we have the songs, but now we're looking at going and finding somewhere we can go into production, to a recording studio. I've talked with a couple of people that have studios. Ty has, and that's kind of where we are at this point, is taking those into a recording studio.
Beautiful. The whole redirection of what's going on, uh, finding it in your own metaphorically and actually, a new voice, right?
Yes.
Um, for a new season in your life. So I get that too, So you're only here once, so let's make the most of it. I like that approach. You'll find that lessons carry over from industry to having fun or hard work, right? So things that are true in the military are true with sports or true in the business world. So I love how people keep evolving like that. That's so much fun. You mentioned, you can't sing, but you still will, right?
Sure
Um,
will.
right. So if you're walking or you're hiking or you're working out, what do you love? What kind of music do you like to listen to?
I listen to praise and worship music.
That tracks with how you've been talking. What's an adventure vacation place you'd like to go to?
I would like to go to Hawaii with my son, daughter-in-law, and three grandkids. Just a family trip to Hawaii.
Any parts in particular? My wife and I went for her 50th birthday.
Did you? No, I don't. Just I hadn't really thought about a specific place in Hawaii.
Hmm.
Just Hawaii, just to get away from everything. Have that family time. That's something that's definitely changed since my husband passed away, in 2023, is making sure that we have more of that family time.
I'll tell you this, we're big nerds, so on a 7-day trip there, we spent 2 full days at Pearl Harbor. My wife,
Really?
she read everything. I read a lot. She read everything. We experienced everything,
Wow.
all the components. Maui's going to be the prettiest, but the most heavily trafficked. We're in the Big Island for most of our time there, and we like to go to national parks and go hiking. So that's mostly what we did. How about a favorite sports movie?
The Invincible Man. The
Okay.
Invincible.
And then
Uh,
favorite
have you seen that movie?
with Vince Papale.
Vince Papale. I love
Yeah, I
him.
see that. Yeah, it's a true story too.
It is a true story. So 220 was partnered with a Right to Heal. It's a nonprofit. And that's how I met Vince. And Janet was through Lisa. So Lisa Regina is an advocate, big advocate. She has a nonprofit, and we do a lot with veterans, like the Veteran Drone Training Program. One of the things we're working on now is she has created heroic episodes, and that's for underprivileged kids, but it's also for disabled veterans and keeping those stories alive for those veterans. And we had a fundraiser at Lisa's a couple of years ago, and Vince was there. That I
Oh,
love that
awesome.
movie. That is awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg does a great job in it too.
he does. Yes.
Yes. Uh, Favorite book?
Mm, I'm just gonna have to. It's gonna be the Bible.
All right. You got a superhero for us?
Superhero,
Yeah.
Wonder Woman,
And villain?
Catwoman.
I saw for your favorite lift, you like walking for quiet time, and I get that. You have a quote for us?
Jeremiah 29:11. He knows the plans he has for me, and I rely on that. He has created my destiny, and as long as I'm on the path I am, I know that I am taken care of.
Beautiful. Thanks for talking about um, veterans, what you do, athletes, how you can reframe your brain based on making the actual cognitive choices. Regardless of trauma, you can still train your brain, which is important to for everyone to understand. For anyone who wants to get a hold of us, obviously you can reach out at info@athlete-builder.com, and we're powered by the AEA Institute. But Pam, where can people get a hold of you, especially if they're struggling?
You can do it a couple of ways. You can call me. My number is 931-638-7131. You can go to the website, and that is the number 22, so 22, ZERO.org, 220.org.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to partnering with 220 and supporting all the peer counselors and sponsoring 250 folks. So that's exciting for us. We want to make an impact, which is what I'm called to do, and people here we're called to do. And so we'll do it with the resources that we have. And Pam, I really enjoyed having you on here today. It was great, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
For sure. See you later.
See ya. Bye. Have a good rest of the week.